We are taught from a very young age that the mind is a warehouse. We spend our lives stocking the shelves. We collect facts, degrees, skills, and opinions. We prize intelligence above almost anything else. We believe that if we just know enough, we will be safe. If we just understand enough, we will be happy. But there comes a point in adulthood where this logic breaks down. You might find yourself in a position where you have all the answers, yet you feel completely stuck. You have read all the books on productivity, but you are burned out. You understand the psychology of relationships, but yours are falling apart. You are smart, articulate, and successful, but you have lost your peace. It is a strange paradox. The more you know, the harder it becomes to see what is right in front of you. Your expertise becomes a wall that blocks the light. You stop listening because you think you already know what is going to be said. You stop observing because you have already labeled everything around you. This is not a lack of intelligence, it is an excess of it. You are suffering from a fullness of the mind. There is a famous story from the Meiji era in Japan that addresses this exact problem. It is the story of the university professor and the Zen master, Nan-in. It is a simple encounter, but it holds a mirror up to our modern exhaustion. The story goes that a university professor decided to visit Nan-in to inquire about Zen. The professor was a man of high status. He had published many papers. He had debated great scholars. He made the long journey up the mountain to the modest temple where the master lived. When he arrived, he did not wait for the master to speak. He immediately began to talk. He told Nan-in about his own background. He explained his interpretation of Buddhist philosophy. He compared it to Western logic. He talked about the history of the sutras. He talked and talked, filling the quiet room with the sound of his own voice. He wanted to show the master that he was a worthy student. He wanted to prove that he already understood. Nan-in listened patiently. He did not interrupt. He sat in his robes, his face calm, nodding slightly. After a long while, the master suggested they have tea. The professor agreed, but he continued his monologue while the master prepared the ceremony. Nan-in placed a simple ceramic cup in front of the visitor. He picked up the iron pot. The steam rose in the air, smelling of earth and rain. Nan-in began to pour the tea. The liquid filled the bottom of the cup, then rose to the middle, then reached the rim. But Nan-in did not stop pouring. The tea rose over the edge. It spilled onto the saucer. It spilled onto the wooden table. It began to drip onto the professor's expensive robes. The professor watched this in disbelief. He could not understand what was happening. Finally, he could not contain himself any longer. "Stop!" the professor shouted. "The cup is full. No more will go in." Nan-in stopped. He set the iron pot down on the table with a soft clink. He looked at the wet table. Then he looked up at the professor with deep, clear eyes. "Like this cup," Nan-in said softly, "you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" The professor sat in silence. The heat of the tea was still rising from the table. In that moment, his intellect was useless. All his degrees, all his theories, all his words meant nothing. He was confronted with a physical reality he could not argue with. There was no room for the tea. There was no room for the truth. This story is not just about a monk and a scholar. It is about you. It is about the state of the modern adult mind. We are all walking around with cups that are overflowing. Think about your average day at work. You sit in a meeting. A colleague starts to present an idea. Before they have finished their second sentence, you have already decided it won't work. You have already formulated your counter-argument. You are not listening to explore. You are listening to reload. Your cup is full of your past experiences, your expertise, and your certainty. Because of this, no new solution can enter. You are replaying the same old patterns over and over, wondering why nothing changes. Think about your relationships. Your partner tries to tell you how they feel, but you already have a narrative in your head about who they are and why they do things. You filter their words through your own story. You say, "I know what you're going to say," or "I know why you're upset." But you don't know. You are just looking at the reflection of your own full cup. You are protecting your ego, but you are starving your connection. We cling to our knowledge because it makes us feel safe. We identify with being the smart one, the expert, the one who has it all figured out. To say, "I don't know," feels like a weakness. It feels like a loss of status. So we fill every gap with noise. We fill every silence with an opinion. But Nan-in's lesson is that wisdom is not about adding more. It is about subtraction. It is about making space. If your hand is tightly clenched around a coin, you cannot pick up a diamond. If your mind is tightly clenched around an opinion, you cannot pick up the truth. This brings us to a concept in Zen called Shoshin, which translates to beginner's mind. The master Shunryu Suzuki famously said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few." The expert sees the world through a narrow tunnel of what has worked before. The beginner sees the world as a wide field. The expert judges. The beginner observes. The expert wants to be right. The beginner wants to understand. How do we practice this in a world that rewards experts? How do we empty the cup when we are expected to be full? It starts with noticing the overflow. Watch yourself today. Notice the physical sensation of being right. It often feels like a tightness in the chest, a quickening of the breath, a rush to speak. When you feel that urge to correct someone, or to dismiss an idea, or to explain why something is impossible, pause. That is the tea spilling over. In that pause, try to ask a question instead of giving an answer. If you are facing a problem at work that you have solved 100 times before, stop. Pretend you have never seen it. Pretend it is your first day on the job. Ask, "What if my assumption is wrong?" This simple question cracks the porcelain. It lets a little bit of the old tea drain out. When you are with your family, look at them as if you have just met them. Forget the history for a moment. Forget the arguments of last week. Listen to the sound of their voice, not the memory of their voice. You might be surprised to find that the person in front of you is different from the person in your head. Emptying the cup is not about becoming stupid. It is not about forgetting your skills. It is about holding your knowledge lightly. It is about keeping your conclusions soft, not hard. It means you are willing to be surprised. The most exhausted people are often the most defensive. They are exhausted because they have to constantly maintain the fortress of their own correctness. It takes an immense amount of energy to know everything all the time. There is a tremendous relief in letting go. There is a deep rest in admitting that you might be wrong or that you do not have the full picture. When you empty the cup, You stop fighting reality. You become porous. You become able to learn again. The professor on the mountain had to get wet to understand the lesson. He had to be shocked out of his intellect. You do not need to wait for a crisis to shock you. You can choose to pour out the tea right now. You can choose to walk into your next conversation with nothing to prove. You can choose to look at the world with fresh eyes. The rain is falling outside the temple. The steam is rising from the pot. The cup is waiting. What could you learn today if you were not so busy knowing?